Well, we're continuing here at Gold Derby with our week-long marathon of award show nominations, and we've got our Slugfest today for Golden Globes. This is the one about film. We've got Daniel Montgomery here in New York and Marcus Dixon in Los Angeles, and I'm Chris Beachum. Let's talk about the film categories. Daniel, you've been writing stories all morning. I've been working on score reports. Marcus has been working on newsletters and such, so we've been quite busy. I think on the West Coast we've been up since 4. But let's talk about snubs. You wrote a whole article today on, and some people don't like the word snub, but people that we thought might get in, or people that are used to getting in, especially with Globe voters, they certainly have their favorites. Who are a couple of the ones that really shocked you the most?
Well, a couple of the big ones. Johnny Depp didn't get in for Black Mass. He just got in yesterday at the SAG Awards. So here, where they split drama and comedy, it would have seemed like it would have been a little easier for him even to get in to a Golden Globe nod, but he wasn't nominated. They didn't nominate Tom Hanks either, which, he wasn't necessarily a lock for Bridge of Spies, but again, with the split comedy and drama categories at the Golden Globes, he seemed like a strong possibility. And really, one of the big ones is, no one thinks Ricky in the Flash is a real major Oscar player this year, but the Golden Globes adore Meryl Streep, and she did not get in to Best Musical or Comedy Actress, even though they nominate her for almost everything she does. If she releases a film that year, even if she doesn't, they might nominate her. So the fact that she wasn't in there is a little bit surprising. Although I don't know that how many people are disappointed. It's not the most beloved film, but yeah, that's another big one.
And wasn't she playing opposite her daughter in that movie as well?
Yeah, I think so. One of her daughters, and it's directed by Jonathan Demme. I think the script was by Diablo Cody. So on paper, that looked like a major player, but it didn't get great reviews, and it was released back in the summer, so it was probably out of sight, out of mind for Globe voters.
I had her in there. I think almost everyone had her in there just because she has been
the most nominated person in Globe history and the most wins in Globe history, right?
Yeah, the most competitive wins. I think Barbra Streisand has more wins overall in terms of just special awards and Cecil B. DeMille and that.
Well, they used to have a world favorite award, which they don't actually call a Golden Globe. So when I build all the prediction center stuff, I don't count that world favorite thing. And they used to give it out every year, I think, to the favorite male and favorite female. So, but it's not an actual Globe. Meryl's got the most Globes. You're right.
And the fact that she was, playing against her daughter, I thought maybe both of them would get in because the Globe voters just love, children of stars as well as the stars themselves. So that was a shocker. And Johnny Depp, did you mention Johnny Depp? Yeah, I thought for sure he would get in there, especially because
2 movies.
They have 10 nominations instead of just the 5 for actor.
That's right.
They split it comedy drama. I thought he was a safe bet.
And didn't he get in for The Tourist too?
Yeah.
We know the Globes love Johnny Depp if he got in for The Tourist, and he didn't even get in for Black Mass, which is his first real awards contender, his first real sort of critical favorite kind of movie and performance in a few years. So yeah, that was a surprise.
I actually was predicting Will Smith, who got in, but I had both Will Smith and Johnny Depp. I didn't think, it took forever for the Globe voters to even recognize Bryan Cranston for Breaking Bad, not even with the win, but even with a nomination. And I just thought maybe they might, leave him out here, but he's really making it in at all the different events, and I fully expect him to get in at Critics' Choice.
Yeah, I think he's at this point after. The acting nom at SAG, I sort of saw it coming because they have a lot of TV people at SAG and in the organization voting. The ensemble nomination for Trumbo is what yesterday made me think, okay, Cranston is pretty much in for Best Actor at the Oscars at this point, because he is in that honeymoon period where everyone, if anyone has an opportunity to reward him for something, they will. It's sort of like when Adele releases a song, she can win. She'll win all the Grammys, and then here's an Oscar, and she needs to do a Broadway musical now, just because it's her hot streak. She needs to get that.
So Cranston wants to get his Grammy. What you're saying is he needs to do a duet with Adele?
Oh my goodness! They'll sweep the Grammys if they.
I've seen a couple of movies. We've been out a lot of parties, and they haven't been foreign press parties, but they get invited to all of them. So anytime I see somebody like that, I'll just nudge up and ask them, what'd you like, what'd you not like, that kind of thing. and I'd heard, you know, a lot of them did get in, but the two that kind of surprised me today on the film side, some of the actors got in, but Brooklyn and Danish Girl, I was just certain we're going to get into the drama film category. You know, not just in acting, and they really underperformed.
Right. And then something like Mad Max gets in, which I continue to underestimate this film. At every prediction center we've had at Gold Derby, I've forgotten or either decided not to put it in, and it's been nominated.
And Critics' Choice is going to nominate it for sure. I don't see any way it doesn't get in for, you know, at this point for at least picture, but probably also director, and it's going to get a couple of those other action movie nominations. It's going to sweep those categories probably, and yeah, I think it's.
I'm like Marcus. I've been under. I just told somebody just a day or two ago. I just can't see it getting in. I can't picture that group of voters that's going to vote for it for Best Picture, and, you know, make it part of the, you know, the 8 or probably 8 or 9. That's what it generally is. But then again, you know, like you just said, it will get in at Critics' Choice in their 10. I think I always thought it would get in at Producers Guild because they've got 10. They always put in a couple of blockbusters. And then I could see it, you know, it could be the kind of movie that BAFTA could go for. I mean, that's George Miller is what, Australian, and you know, maybe I'm just totally wrong.
If it had got in at SAG, you would put it in for your Best Picture.
It did get in at SAG. It's nominated for Stunt Ensemble there, even though it didn't get in the other categories. And something like The Revenant didn't get in for Stunt Ensemble. I remember seeing, you know, when I saw The Revenant this past week with Paul, at the end credits, there's like this whole page of Stunt Ensemble people, and I thought, oh, well, it's got that sewn up, and it didn't get in there, but Mad Max did, so...
Yeah, I'm thinking of putting it into my predictions for the Oscars.
It's in mine. I think I have it in like 6th or 7th.
But the thing is, what do you take out? This year is so crazy. There's at least 15, maybe even 20 worthy films that deserve nominations this year.
I don't know, especially after yesterday. I mean, I think Straight Outta Compton made a big push yesterday with an ensemble nomination, and then, you know, Trumbo has gotten 2. You know, had 2 great days in a row. I don't know. I mean, these are movies that are kind of like on the borderline of when you get past that top 5 or 6 that we all feel like are definitely getting in for Best Picture. So I will say the voters that did talk to me, and Tom would give me some insight on people he was talking to as well. They did say that they loved The Revenant. So I thought, okay, that's going to do way better than it's been doing elsewhere, and it sure enough did. Although Tom Hardy. Okay, you love the movie and you love Leo, you love the direction, you love the score. So if Tom Hardy can't get in with a group like that loves so much about it, then I think I've got to take him out of my Oscar predictions at this stage.
I remember after we left the theater, we actually thought he could win, but now he's coming up short at all of these precursors. So I'm kind of like you. He might be one to consider, you know, taking out of my Oscar predictions. But I just loved his performance so much and the movie so much that I want him to get in.
And it's weird that he hasn't gotten in because, you know, these groups that like the movie, I mean, you know, it got in Best Actor at SAG and Golden Globes. It got in Best Picture. It's a showy performance. He's doing a very showy accent. He's playing a villain, the kind of mustache twirling villain they like. You know, it's a prominent role.
He also had Mad Max and Legend this year, so he's had a good year.
And so I don't know why, if the movie is hitting, why he's not. It seems he would just be obviously, you know, be obvious to go along for the ride, just sort of like the Spotlight guys who we're also seeing are not making it in, didn't make it in at SAG, and didn't make it in at the Golden Globes. No actors from Spotlight got in at the Golden Globes. So it's sort of strange that these movies that seem like they're, you know, they're hitting all the right beats in the right places are missing in these key pivotal spots, which is unusual.
I think, you know, Tom Hardy's character is just pure evil in this movie. He's not. I disagree with you that he's a mustache twirling villain. He's just a pure evil villain. I think that's a difference between him and a Christoph Waltz from, you know, Django and Inglourious Basterds. You're not rooting for Tom Hardy.
Idris Elba in Beasts of No Nation, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Is even less charismatic, but less, you know, less that kind of amusing or kind of showy kind of a villain role than Tom Hardy is, especially with Tom Hardy doing that accent. I feel like Tom Hardy has a little bit more of that sort of Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men kind of quality.
Let me just look real quick and see if there's anybody else we want to talk about before we. Well, you know, The Big Short. Boy, it's had a great 2 days in a row. I just never. I thought it would do well. Now I don't know what to think because they do have the comedy categories here at Globes, which often, you know, don't translate over to the Oscar side of things. And it does have a big ensemble, so at SAG that makes sense. So I don't know whether to take all of this and use it toward Oscars or not.
I think a little bit, and I think the key is, you know, or at least for me, when I saw this film, this was, I think, one of my 2 or 3 favorite films of the year. I was like totally in love with this film, and a couple of things that stood out to me were the editing, which won at the Los Angeles Film Critics. I was thrilled about that, and the screenplay, which got a nomination at the Golden Globes against all comedies and dramas. So that tells me, if it just got into the comedy races, maybe there's not much to it, but the fact that it got that screenplay nomination against some much tighter competition, and there's only one screenplay category. It's not original and adapted.
Right.
That's a sign of some strength, and I'm really, really encouraged by it. I don't know that it's going to necessarily be a Best Picture nominee at the Oscars, but I'm starting to think Christian Bale, supporting actor, adapted screenplay, maybe editing, fingers crossed. So, you know, I think it'll show up in a couple places potentially at the Oscars.
The category.
Go ahead, Marcus.
I was going to say, you know, about Bale, the category confusion could be an issue because here it's actor, you know, comedy actor, and at SAG it was supporting actor, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's weird though. I don't think the Oscars will put him lead though. I mean, just watching the movie, I'm surprised the Golden Globes put him lead. It's an ensemble movie. He feels like less of a lead than Steve Carell does, and even Steve Carell, I'd say, could go supporting very reasonably. So I wouldn't think that they would, you know, that they would leave him in the lead slot. I think he might, especially with supporting actor, as we've seen, opening wide up with guys falling out. So yes, if you have a supporting actor candidate, push him now.
I've got Walton Goggins in my Oscar predictions, and I'm going to leave him there until I can't. Hateful Eight just does not. It had no chance with SAG apparently. Just too many people voting, and they hadn't seen it. But here, you know, they did like, you know, Quentin's screenplay, and they liked Jennifer Jason Leigh, so we could tell they saw it. So I don't know. I don't think he's a big enough name to get in with the Globes. But then they put, you know, Michael Shannon's not all that big of a name. Paul Dano. So
the 2 nominations it got for Jennifer and for screenplay, those are the 2 I would definitely nominate it for. I think when I left the theater, I emailed all the Gold Derby editors. I said, it's definitely going to win screenplay. I don't know about how confident I am now, you know, a week later, but he has a much better shot at the Oscars for screenplay than for director.
Well, let's give our. We do have the prediction center up and running, so anybody can go in and start logging in your votes. One thing I do like about the Globe, it's always easy to remember whatever day the nominations come out on in December, which this year's the 10th. The ceremony is also going to be on the 10th of January. So I always do that, which I like because my memory is getting worse and worse. But let's give some of our picks. We won't do every category. I'll start out. Let's do supporting since we were just talking about those 2 categories. I do think it's all about Jennifer Jason Leigh. I just look at the list there, and I don't think Kate Winslet's going to get it. I think Alicia is just one of those people that I don't think she's going to get it for that role. And every year there's somebody at the Globes that they just kind of over-reward. Several nominations. I don't think Helen Mirren and Jane Fonda, so it goes to Jennifer Jason Leigh, I think. And she's a child of Hollywood. Her father was Vic Morrow, an actor way back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So I think that makes sense to me, and we know they like the movie, somewhat. Supporting actor, though, I don't know. I don't think it's probably Shannon or Rylance. They didn't like Bridge of Spies nearly as much as I thought they would. I don't think Love and Mercy there. That really underperformed. Probably Idris Elba versus Sylvester Stallone, don't you think?
That's actually an interesting category. I'm looking at those films got almost no other nominations except Love and Mercy got a Best Song nomination, but that's the only nomination for every other one of those movies. So it's hard to know who they'll like the most because they didn't respond that well to the movies as a whole. So it's hard to know where to go there. I mean, I would probably pick Rylance at this particular moment just because he's been the most consistent this award season, and of these, he and Idris Elba are the most likely to get in at the Oscars, it seems like at this point. Though I would say Sylvester Stallone might be right up there for Creed.
I don't. This is one group where being buddy-buddy with them often helps. Mark Rylance, I doubt they've ever even met. Plus, he's still working, I think, on the next Spielberg movie. But, the two that we've kind of narrowed it down to, in my mind, Idris Elba is really working it. I'm sure Stallone is really working it. Stallone's never won with them. When I was working on the candidate pages, he was up at the Oscars and the Globes for the same two things that year for Rocky, which were actor and screenplay, and lost both at both places. Idris Elba, though, we know they liked somewhat because he won for Luther a couple of years ago. They do have the chance here to give him an award on the TV side, so it might, they're hedging their bets. They might go, we'll give Idris another TV award, and we'll give Stallone the film award.
Because he's won for Luther before at the Globes.
Right.
And it's interesting that, it's one of those odd things that happens at some awards, and it's happened twice now. Idris Elba and Mark Rylance are rivals in 4 categories this week, for twice at the Golden Globes and twice at SAG. So those two, get them in a room together. They should just do like this. They should do like an interview jointly where they just talk about who's going to win each one. Because of all the people we've been predicting for film all this time, they're the only two who have been hitting in a really consistent way. So it could come down to those two at the Oscars, depending.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying Mark Rylance can't win the Oscar. I just don't know if he would. I mean, he's not one to go campaign or do news, or you've seen how he is even on the Tony Awards where he gets up there and reads a poem. So I just don't see this group going for him, whereas I could see maybe a SAG or a BAFTA, or especially a BAFTA may go for him. Well, what about let's look at the ones that I have on my top of my page here, the drama categories. I'll go ahead and go first again while you think. I think it's all about Spotlight for drama, although every one of them, though, has a missing piece. It's like you look at Spotlight and go, where are the actors? You look at Room and go, where's Jacob? You look at The Revenant and go, where's Tom Hardy? Mad Max has virtually nothing, directing nomination. And then Carol has, do they have directing and writing, or just directing?
I think they have writing too. Let me check. No, they did miss writing.
See, I was told specifically by somebody that works with the foreign press, but works with them on a regular basis, but isn't a member, and he just said, I took Carol out of my predictions for film and director based on this person, but he just said they liked Carol, but they liked the acting in Carol more than they liked the movie as a whole. So this person was totally wrong.
I'm glad both of the Carol ladies got into lead. It's this whole category confusion thing again. Some places Rooney Mara is supporting, some places she's lead. I think she will be lead at the Oscars, just for the record. But Carol was the big winner. Carol got 5 nominations, more than any other movie. So if Tom always says the most nominations win, does that mean Carol's going to win, or is it too small of a movie for the Globes? Mad Max could surprise us again.
I'd watch out for Carol, but I wouldn't say 5 is a dominant lead. Like if it had gotten like 7 or 8 nominations and gotten in places we weren't expecting it, if it had gotten into screenplay, obviously that would have helped. But yeah, everything is they spread the wealth so much, both in film and television, which we're going to talk about later. There's no 1 or 2 dominant players. It's like the top nominee has 5 nominations, and that's not a lot. I mean, even though the Golden Globes don't have that many categories. So Yeah, I'm going to stick with Spotlight for now, just because, even though it underperformed, it did get directing, which it doesn't, if there was going to fall out anywhere other than the acting races, it might have been there, but it did get in directing, it did get in writing. So I think it's probably strong enough to win Best Picture, since there's nothing in here that feels that dominant.
Right.
Do we all feel like it's one of those two, Spotlight or Carol?
Yeah, I was giving a reason for why Carol could win, but Spotlight's my official prediction.
I wouldn't even rule out, though, The Revenant. I mean, 4 nominations. Leo got in. The director got in. The score got in, I believe. So that's very strong too, even though Tom Hardy's missing.
Okay. What about actress and actor? I think. Remember even backing up to that last category, if there's becomes a real feel at some point that say Spotlight's going to potentially win Best Picture at the Oscars, they'll go that route here. They like predicting, what the Oscars are going to do if they can get a real feel for what the Oscars are going to do. Although last year, Birdman didn't even win for comedy, if people will remember.
Yeah.
But they at that point, remember, they thought Boyhood was going to win Best Picture, and it just won Critics' Choice a couple of nights earlier, and they were kind of putting all their eggs. So I'm thinking maybe Brie Larson, maybe Kate and Rooney sort of split their vote. And then the other two movies kind of underperformed. I think it's all about Leo on the actor side. He's won 2 before, and you took out, to me, his strongest competition was going to be Johnny Depp. So you take him out, and I just don't see Bryan Cranston or Michael Fassbender. Eddie Redmayne just won. Will Smith is more of they love Will Smith. I think it's all about Leo.
Yeah, I think it's Leo too, and I think Brie Larson probably won Best Actress with the Room nomination for Best Picture. I feel like, of all the things that made me think, I thought, Brie Larson might be out front, but it was nominated for Best Picture. That makes me think, oh yeah, they like, because she is that movie. She and Jacob Tremblay, who didn't get nominated, but those two are that movie. So the fact that they nominated for Best Picture makes me think that's going to be the Best Actress right there.
I think we're going to see the same 2 lead winners win at SAG, Critics' Choice, Golden Globes, and the Oscars, and that's going to be Leo and Brie. What's first? Is the Golden Globe ceremony first before SAG?
Yeah,
It's 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
So if one of those guys loses at Golden Globes, then I might, adjust the other award shows coming up. But right now, I'm going to predict those 2 at everything, because I really think they have the best shot at the Oscars. So, leading up to that, I think they're going to win all of these precursors.
On the comedy side, I've got. Well, really, it's Martian versus The Big Short, I think. Martian gets in for directing, but Big Short gets in for writing. Big Short has 2 acting nominations, but The Martian really could only have 1. I mean, they weren't going to get any other, so I don't think it underperformed. Well, maybe it probably, I had it getting in for writing, so maybe it underperformed in that regard. My feeling is they'll go Martian there. They'll go Matt Damon. I mean, Matt's never won an acting award at the Globes. He won for Good Will, just like at the Oscars. He won with Ben for writing Good Will Hunting. Actress, they love themselves some Jennifer Lawrence. I'm going to tell you, I think it helps her that you've got a couple of older veterans in there that might cancel each other out with Maggie Smith and Lily Tomlin, and Lily's never won a Globe, at least on the. Well, I'll look it up while you talk. I don't think she's ever won a Globe, so that could play into their thinking. But Jennifer, they love Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, they gave her the supporting over Lupita a couple of years ago. So I think those are pretty set in my mind. I'll look that up on Lily while you talk.
Lily Tomlin did win an ensemble award for Shortcuts, but she's never won.
Oh yeah, along with half of Hollywood that year.
But yeah, she hasn't won individually.
I'm going to go out on a limb and pick Amy Schumer. They also went with Trainwreck for Best Comedy.
That's true.
And what you just said about Jennifer Lawrence, she's won so many times. Amy Schumer, inside Amy Schumer is so hot, and they don't have a variety category. So this would be their way of honoring Schumer for TV and for film.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I sort of cynically think that, you know, Jennifer Lawrence is still one of the hottest names in Hollywood. I still don't think they'll pass up the opportunity to have her on their stage again. You know, at least not at this point. And sometimes if they like,
they've already got in their imaginations the arm in arm Jennifer Lawrence Matt Damon photo ops.
and remember Claire Danes. They weren't so close together, but Claire Danes actually won 4 times before she ever lost. So you know, they're not opposed to doing that over and over again.
And
Well, I'm
Amy
gonna put
Adams, won 2 in a row for this category. So,
I'm gonna put my 500-point bet on Amy Schumer and cash in all the points.
well, at this point, I think everybody's 10-to-1 odds. So you might want to wait until they start spreading out a little bit, because a lot of people probably will jump on Jennifer Lawrence. Well, let's not do the other film categories today. We're going to do a TV slugfest. But definitely get in there into your prediction center, and you can start voting now for Golden Globes, film and TV. The SAG film and TV are up and running. And now that you've seen how all this plays out, you know, the Critics' Choice nominations are Monday, so you've got 4 days here to make some changes there and try to win some money. You can win a $100 Amazon gift certificate if you're the best scorer. We have 2 people today that on the film side got 84% right, which is, with all the curveballs they threw, I just can't believe that. All right, guys, thanks a bunch, and we'll be back soon to talk about TV.